The DCU is developing into a large, well-established, and extensive universe that already covers much of the comic universe, but even now, as we are a year in with years of announced projects in development, there are still very large and significant parts of the DC universe that are completely missing from both the DCU itself and the future plans, or at least what we as the audience are privy to. In this video, I'll be going over the missing franchises and discuss what I'd like for them to get in the DCU, and since the DCU consists of live-action movies and TV shows, as well as animated movies and TV shows, each franchise has the best possible unique outcome. Comment what you'd like each franchise to get, to make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and become a member in the Noble tier above for early access to videos, or the King tier for a special shout out. Thanks to these members for the extra support. Let's start with the Bat family, since we already have the franchises of Batman, Robin, and also, I guess, Clayface covered. There are a few more Batman characters who can absolutely be given their own projects, like Nightwing. Nightwing has been practically confirmed to exist and to be appearing in The Brave and the Bold, and if Dynamic Duo is set in the DCU, he's getting his own animated movie, but as Robin, it's not a Nightwing movie, at least not until the end. There's also the possibility of him appearing in Teen Titans, but in all honesty, it is wild that DC has never released something called Nightwing. Nightwing, for anyone who doesn't know, is tied with Action Comics and Detective Comics as the longest ongoing DC comic since Rebirth in 2016. 9 years, and apparently the sales on every other comic, including even now Batman, have dwindled enough for them to do a #1 restart. But not Nightwing, I guess because the comic sells very well. The comic also wasn't always good. Clearly Nightwing has a built-in and passionate fanbase who consistently show up, kind of like Spider-Man, so it's insane to me that they've never made a Nightwing movie or show. Either would be good, and he could definitely fit in both live action and animation, but if I had to choose, I would most want a high-quality live-action Nightwing series, either on HBO Max, or I guess now it could be Netflix, whatever the DCU's home is at that point. Batgirl, on the other hand, is definitely not quite as popular. Both Barbara and Cassandra have been hinted by James Gunn, but neither have been confirmed to exist yet in the DCU. Barbara got very close to getting her own movie, but considering that whole situation, and because she got so close, I doubt they'd try again. Honestly, I don't find Barbara too compelling as Batgirl. I think she fits far better as Oracle, which I think should be her place in the DCU. Oracle appearing as a minor character in every Bat family project, but as the secondary main character and main love interest in the aforementioned Nightwing show. Meanwhile, Cassandra Cain should be the DCU's Batgirl, but in a supporting role capacity. I just don't think Warner Brothers will be releasing something called Batgirl anytime soon, but even if they do, Cassandra's story might honestly be too close to Damian's for her to be the main character of something, considering he will be the main character of something else. Speaking of, there's the franchise of Robin. There's no movie called Robin, but there are going to be 3 movies that can be considered Robin movies: The Brave and the Bold featuring Damian Wayne, Dynamic Duo featuring Dick and Jason, and Teen Titans, which will certainly feature one of them, we just don't know which one. What that means is that if Dynamic Duo is in the DCU, then Dick, Jason, and Damian are all covered, but what about Tim Drake? Well, either he'll be the Teen Titans Robin, or he won't exist, or he will exist, but he definitely wouldn't be a franchise main character anyway. If Dynamic Duo is set in the DCU, then Jason Todd is getting his own animated movie as Robin, and is likely to become Red Hood by the end, but what should DC do with him after that? A Red Hood live action series sounds pretty easy to make and can certainly work. It'd be like The Punisher in that regard, but I'd prefer to focus not on Red Hood as he exists alone, but rather as a part of a group known as the Outlaws, featuring Arsenal and Starfire, and later Bizarro and Artemis. I really like these characters as a group, but I don't think it'd work in live action. Instead, I can absolutely see them making a Creature Commando style adult animated series featuring these characters. Considering the members, this would therefore connect to Superman, showcasing what happened to Ultraman as he became Bizarro, Wonder Woman as we meet Artemis, and then if Starfire and Arsenal are around, then it'd connect to Teen Titans and maybe a Green Arrow project. This would mean that if Dynamic Duo is set in the DCU, this is an adult series sequel to what is likely a PG movie. I don't know if that's even allowed, but I don't know, why not? Harley Quinn is in a weird situation where she kind of already appeared in the DCU, played by Margot Robbie, but that might not be canon. The Suicide Squad as a franchise is very likely gone for now, and I really dislike Harley Quinn as her own main character, so I'll honestly just leave that there. I'm fine with, and I would honestly prefer, if the character's role in the Suicide Squad is entirely canon and she just went free and kind of just lived a normal life, never to appear in the universe again. Let's retire the character for now. There are other Batman characters with a precedent for getting their own project, like Joker, Catwoman, Batwoman, Alfred, the City of Gotham, Gotham, the Penguin, and the Gotham Knights, but I would be surprised if any of them got their own projects in the DCU. It's either more likely for the Batverse, or just not at all. Moving on from Gotham, there's the rest of the DC universe, primarily the Justice League and all of its members. The Justice League itself currently does not exist, nor do they have any project in development as far as we know, but this isn't exactly something that's missing. It's something that's clearly being built up to, and it's pretty clear what the Justice League will get if the DCU succeeds, which is live-action event movies. As for the members, right now 4/7 of the founders are a part of the public plans. Superman and the Super Family are extensively covered, and we are getting Wonder Woman and Green Lantern projects, so that brings us to The Flash. There's a reason The Flash has not been a part of the plans for right now, and that's because the brand has been badly damaged. The CW show's quality took a steep dive. The last few seasons are genuinely terrible. Ezra Miller is universally hated, and the Flash movie flopped commercially, and in my opinion is pretty awful. Because of this, despite Flash being one of DC's top dogs, he's nowhere to be seen in the DCU, aside from one supposed cameo. I can honestly already feel the general damage done to the brand waning, but also considering the last time a DC movie about one of their top dogs flopped, that franchise died for 15 years, and even now is not getting a movie but rather a TV show. It'll be foolish to think that DC is even considering making another live-action Flash movie right now. If there's anything that can be done with the Flash franchise, it'd have to be something different. Literally anything else. Another live-action show can work, but that's been done. No, in my opinion, DC needs to realize what can truly be done with this character visually and go all in on the Flash as their answer to the Spider-Verse movies. In my opinion, the Flash should get theatrically released animated movies featuring some sort of innovative 3D animation style that sets it apart as a unique franchise. The character themselves would still appear in live-action projects like Justice League, but the Flash franchise I think should be animated. Also, starting a new era of the Flash franchise, I'd put the main focus on Wally West. Aquaman seems to be lumped in with the Flash and Shazam as a part of the weird transitional period of the year 2023, which seems to be one of the reasons that those three in particular are not being mentioned as a part of the plans at all. Now, Aquaman 2 is the lowest rated of these movies on IMDb, but well, I personally think it was a bit better than both, but also it easily made the most money. It was actually a bit profitable, and that's while being the worst reviewed of the bunch, also featuring a problematic actor, and that's all after Aquaman 1 made $1 billion. It also seems like, unlike Shazam and Flash, which are still made fun of, this movie was more so forgotten. All of that is to say is that I really don't think Aquaman 2 really affected the Aquaman brand, like, at all. I think Aquaman could absolutely still work as a movie franchise. It'll just need to be a bit different. Aquaman should get live-action movies focusing on a more comic-accurate Aquaman, who takes from the current Aquaman run, placing him as one of the most important heroes on Earth, as both the wise and commanding king of the seas and the avatar of the blue. Quite different from Momoa, with his long brown hair, jokey attitude, and not really wanting to be king. And in Aquaman King of the Seven Seas, maybe he'd face off against the Fisherman, who cameoed in Creature Commandos. Flash movie and the Aquaman movie would set these two up as founding members of the Justice League. The final founder of the League, the Martian Manhunter, has been hinted at from the DCU but not confirmed. Historically, unlike his fellow 6 founding members of the League, John Jones is unfortunately not really a franchise main character. He's never had a movie or a show and has never really been able to hold on to his own solo comic for long, peaking at just 36 issues. To me, Martian Manhunter is the ultimate Justice League character. Like how Cyclops is intrinsically tied to the X-Men, he's very popular, but they're not going to make a Cyclops movie. Now, Martian Manhunter I think can get a movie. I could see a live-action movie propping up his popularity, for instance, but ultimately I gotta consider what works both in storytelling and the real-world implications, and I just don't think Martian Manhunter will get his own project, but rather be heavily featured in a Justice League project, and maybe as a secondary hero in like a Superman movie or something like that. Green Arrow is definitely going to show up at some point, it's just a matter of when and how. Meanwhile, Black Canary has already been confirmed to exist on the set of Clayface. I'm gonna lump these two together because if either will get their own projects, I'd like for it to be together. I think we could safely knock animated movie off as an option, leaving us with the other three, and honestly, while a live-action movie would be nice, I just think these two fit better as live-action TV show main characters, something that Green Arrow has gotten before, yes, but while that show did successfully spearhead an interconnected DC TV universe and pretty consistently remain remain the best show in said universe, it was very widely criticized for not being entirely true to Green Arrow, and even less so to Black Canary and their relationship. So despite it being the same medium, or maybe because of it, it's proven to be successful, a live-action Green Arrow TV show in the DCU is what I would give them, but it would have to be vastly different from Arrow, featuring a version of Oliver who relies far more on arrows than hand-to-hand combat, dates Black Canary, trash talks his enemies, and is an extremely passionate and outspoken political activist, constantly preaching his anti-capitalist, anti-status quo views. I think, however, in the current political climate, for this to work and not feel preachy, you need other people in the show to call him out. Maybe other heroes who appear from time to time, maybe Arsenal, but also the second main character, Black Canary. Not that Black Canary should be conservative or anything, but she'd definitely be far more reserved in her politics, and even find Ollie's activism to be a bit much. Still, they fall in love because of their raw animalistic magnetism, so casting them together with chemistry tests is vital. Like I mentioned earlier, Shazam is a part of a unique group of heroes who got movies in the year 2023, and I unfortunately think that Shazam is the one that will be hit the hardest. Shazam 2 was a bit of a travesty. The movie itself was pretty bad, but wow, did the movie make no money. And unlike The Flash, who has had a highly successful show, and Aquaman, who has had a billion-dollar movie, Shazam's outside media history has been rather underwhelming in its success. I mean, the first movie only made $367 million in the year 2019, the biggest year ever for superhero movies. Also, Shazam is closer to Martian Manhunter than Flash and Aquaman when it comes to being able to sell his own comics, at least since the 1940s. He was apparently the most popular superhero in the 1940s. All that brings me to the opposite conclusion as Aquaman. It's unfortunately not the 1940s anymore. There's no way in hell they're making another Shazam movie anytime soon. But frankly, I don't think Shazam will be touched at all for a little while, and that's fine. He's a cool character with a unique concept, but I wouldn't say he's one of the DC heroes who is entirely necessary for a complete DC universe. It's fine to leave him alone for now. What's weird is that Blue Beetle also made very little money, has even less outside media success, and also can't really hold his own comic for long, and yet he's fully in the DCU and getting his own animated series. So I guess if Shazam is to get anything, it'd probably be an animated series. But I think still, for now, let's not. John Constantine has gotten his own movie and his own show in the past, but in general, I much prefer him as a part of an ensemble cast. An R-rated Justice League Dark movie, preferably directed by Guillermo del Toro, who has been talking about it for a while, would be awesome. It would be the continuation to the Swamp Thing franchise, which will almost certainly not get an actual sequel, and then be the franchise that Zatanna, Etrigan, and Deadman all appear in. Given their name, however, they can't really do this until after the first Justice League movie, so not for a little while. I think DC has a pretty big opportunity with Plastic Man to make him their answer to Deadpool. He doesn't exactly break the fourth wall, but he is a very comedy-heavy character with a different universe-breaking ability. Plastic Man is the subject of many power scaling arguments because of how the many comments on his insane power level is only held back by how he takes nothing seriously. A hilarious concept. As an answer to Deadpool, Plastic Man should get a live-action movie, and there's actually a rumor floating around for a while that there's one in development which would be directed by Darren Aronofsky, so let's get that made. Static has been hinted at by Gunn to be in the plans, but also he's been hinted to have been tangled in rights issues that might prevent his use entirely. If they manage to get these rights untangled, I think Static is very tied to animation, and would therefore be a great candidate for a new animated series, which I guess would be seen as a reboot of the original, but it'd be more like Batman the Animated Series to the Batman than like Teen Titans to Teen Titans Go. However, I actually don't think they'll untangle these rights, so I don't think that this will be made. From there, no Justice Leaguers have any real precedent for being franchise main characters, aside from those who have already been confirmed, like anyone I already mentioned and Booster Gold, and then others who I just don't think will be getting anything at times because they already did, like Black Lightning, Stargirl, and Naomi. However, even if they're mostly side characters, the DCU is still missing the Atom, Hawkman, Firestorm, Red Tornado, Vixen, and Captain Atom, just to name a few of the more important ones. I haven't mentioned most of the main Titans because since there's a Teen Titans movie in development, it could be assumed that these heroes will be used there. I'm mainly talking about the Titans exclusives of Starfire, who has already appeared, Cyborg, Raven, and Beast Boy, and then maybe also the remaining main sidekicks I haven't mentioned of Donna Troy and Tempest, but they were obviously not going to be getting their own projects anyway, so that doesn't really matter. As for the rest of the teams of the DC universe, obviously we already have the Suicide Squad and Creature Commandos, and we're getting the Authority, probably, maybe, we'll see. I already discussed the Justice League, Teen Titans, and Justice League Dark, but what about the rest? The JSA are a key part of the past, and the more I think about it, the more I really would love to see an animated series set in the 1940s following the JSA. None of the members would be getting getting their own projects individually, but nearly all of them are missing in the DCU. I think the Legion of Superheroes would fit an animated series as well, but ultimately I think they also would be perfect for a Supergirl sequel, technically meaning they'd get a live action movie. It's just that Kara would be the main character and it would be more of a Supergirl movie featuring the Legion of Superheroes rather than an actual Legion movie. I just think, how do you one-up Woman of Tomorrow other than sending her to the future? The Metal Men were teased, but I think they should appear in the series they were teased in rather than get their own thing. Gunn has hinted at the Doom Patrol, but since we already got a live action show, I think the Doom Patrol are more likely to appear in someone else's project. There are the New Gods, but I'm just gonna assume that the Mr. Miracle series is set in the DCU. The Birds of Prey movie flopped, which leads me to believe that they would not be a high priority even if each member does appear separately. The only one I haven't mentioned yet is the Huntress, but that's because she's less significant. But also, there's a rumor she's getting a movie, a Korean language one actually, but we'll see if that's true. In the end, there are countless DC characters not in the DCU, but the real focus of this video was sorting out the franchise main characters and what they should get. And so, in short, this includes a live-action PG-13 Nightwing series, a 2D animated adult Red Hood and the Outlaws series, a PG-13 live-action Justice League movie and a few of them, a 3D animated PG Flash movie, a PG-13 live-action Aquaman movie, an adult live-action Green Arrow and Black Canary series, an R-rated live-action Plastic Man movie, an R-rated Justice League Dark movie, a PG 2D animated JSA series, and a sequel to Supergirl featuring the Legion of Superheroes that would be live-action in PG-13.